want to ask you about voter ID. In our survey, it looks like 1 in 20 does not have a valid voter ID, which means that they won't be able to vote, frankly, in local elections. That could be as many as 1.5 million people. Or perhaps the Daily Mail this morning saying 2 million people ineligible to vote. That feels like a crisis in democracy, although there may be many people to say, everybody knew about it, it's a shame if you didn't get your act together. What's your view?
I think it is a crisis, and I think the Conservatives were wrong to bring in this voter ID. Liberal Democrats opposed it. We've been calling out week after week. We've been warning about this crisis. We really fear that there will be people who want to go and vote and they turn up and they won't have the voter ID, just as you said. I think the Conservatives are trying to mess up with our democracy. They tried to make out they brought this in because of voter fraud. And do you know what, Susanna? They had no evidence for that. No evidence at all. So they're putting this extra cost on local authorities, because this costs money, right, to look at voters' ID, and you're getting lots of people who may not be able to vote. This is undermining our democracy.
There's been one allegation this morning that it's actually skewed against young people. Because, for example, older people, pensioners, can use their Oyster cards, ID cards, as ID, but young people, for example, can't use their bus passes.
Richard, you're absolutely right. Liberal Democrats have been raising that very point in Parliament, and it looks like the government seem to think that young people it should be more difficult to vote for them, and one wonders why. You know, I hope lots of people who have retired will vote Liberal Democrat because of our policy on pensions and the health service. But, you know, the Conservatives have tended to do better amongst more retired people, and maybe they're making it easier for them to vote and less easy to vote for the young people. I think this does need to be looked into, but I think there'll be lots of pensioners who turn up and people who are of more mature age who want to vote, and maybe, I remember my old gran, right, my lovely Nana, long deceased I'm afraid, she never travelled, she didn't have a passport, she didn't drive, so she didn't have a driving licence, and to be honest, she didn't go on the bus because she relied on me and my granddad to take her around. So she didn't have any voter ID. I think there'll be lots of people of all ages who won't have been aware of this and who will be really quite cross and angry that they can't register to vote. And I think the Conservatives really should hang their heads in shame.